What were your impressions of the Promise Ship and Marcus Garvey, Giant of Politics?
I thought they were both very inspiring and thought-provoking. I've been to quite a few Black History Study events in the past, and they've always been on point. The discussions, I think, are very, very challenging and also give you a different perspectives, which you won't have access to unless you're actually a part of these sorts of discussions. So for me, it was very important to be here this evening.
A lot of the things that he was going through, or the black people that were going through at that time, we're still going through today. So certainly his philosophy is still relevant. The fact that Marcus Garvey was pushing for black people to become more educated, to basically support themselves, become economically strong. All of those sort of things are still relevant, and those are still things that black people should be certainly pushing towards.
I think Marcus Garvey did rally the youth to be part of the whole thing. The way he was doing his thing, it was to have the whole community, from the old to the young. What happened after they destroyed him really is that the people that were left were too traumatized to recognize their responsibility, not only to themselves but to the young and future generations. Now, this poem was written for a boss who wanted to put me under the chair and sit down upon my head. And he couldn't hold it when I gave it to him. It was supposed to be a report. By his code, I love me, the anatomy of freedom. I love me from the roof of my head to the sole of my feet. I love my hair with its spiraling strands, each resembling DNA, the messenger of life. I love my big forehead, which welcomes each new day with pride since the beginning of time. I love my eyes, brown, deep and shady, reflecting the impression of the Creator as seen on that first morning. I love my nose, the first human nose to breathe the virgin air and man's journey through creation. I love my lips, thick, luscious lips, which gives expression to sweet melodies that have rocked the spirit of every nation on this planet. Yes, I love my tongue, the tongue that gave language and expressions of abstract thinking to the world. I love my neck that carries my head, the house of my brain. It was this brain that gave meaning to civilization. It formulated the concept of one God. Mathematics was born in my kitchen. Astrology and astronomy evolved as I sat around the fire at nights watching the stars. Architecture came into being when I learned how to farm. Yes, it was this brain that gave science to the world. I, both male and female, are the beginning, and in spite of what others may say, will be the end. I love my neck, a neck that understands how to support the seat of wisdom. I love my bosom. I think I'm gonna stop there because I'm out of breath. I'm out of breath, man. I get too emotional when I'm among my people, and I don't know why. Because I love you so.
Sometimes you watch one documentary and you build a structure of what you think that person is. So I've watched one Marcus Garvey documentary and I thought, okay, I understand who he is. I can go back and relay. But then when seeing another documentary and seeing other people's perspective, it really opens my eyes to think, wow, you know, one man, he can do so much, but you can't document his life, you know? It's hard to document one person's life.
Seeing how much influence he had in Costa Rica, that's where the film was kind of based. And it was amazing to see how much people are influenced there. The fact that they actually saw the ship as well with the 3 colours. I thought that was amazing. So you can definitely see that the elderly people there, they're still influenced by him a lot.
I can see the vision that Garvey had in terms of African people working together collectively to establish, you know, a future for the generations to come. But the sad part of it for me was seeing those who have experienced that, what Garvey was trying to achieve, and I saw the sadness in their eyes of perhaps a dream unfulfilled.
I thought it was quite sad that
the elderly people actually seemed to keep the knowledge to themselves, and I felt I could understand why they wanted to do that, because it was almost like a comfort. It was an experience that they'd gone through, and it sort of gave them to a sense of power because they'd been through that experience. But then again, it's sad because, you know, what happens if you don't pass that experience on to the younger generation?
So do you think that's relevant for us now, and there's something we can learn from that?
I think that's really relevant. I think that each generation, we go through our things, and they can be quite horrible things, and then we just want the best for children coming up, so we just tend to, you know, all the awful things we've been through, we just try to ignore them or keep them to ourselves, and then give the best, what we think is the best, to the younger generation. But unfortunately, it's only useful for the younger generation if they get some support of knowledge about, you know, of the awful things that we've had to go through in the past.
Do you think that the Marcus Garvey philosophy is something that is applicable to you as a young man coming up now?
Yeah, it really inspires you. It gives you, he gives you, like, the words, the things that he says give you a kick. Like, it makes you realise the world, and it still carries on nowadays. So yeah, it gives you a kick.
Well, that's the end of an interesting 2 days at the Marcus Garvey Library here in Tottenham. It's part of the Tottenham Film Festival with Black History Studies. We've had a fantastic turnout over the 2 days, 3 wonderful films. And I know that Black History Studies would like to thank everybody that supported them, that came along from all over London. And more power to them. We hope that there'll be more of this type of event coming up in the future. The audience participation was fantastic. We had poetry, we had singing, we had dancing. It's the first film festival that I've been to that's been the case. So we're hoping that there'll be many more of these. For more information, go to www.blackhistorystudies.com.